Alright, let's go ahead and talk about Eula. Now, Eula is going to be upcoming very, and I mean super very soon because the servers are about to shut down in almost an hour, so I'm going to be recording this video now. Today, we're going to be talking about Eula and especially if she is worth in version 3.8. Now, I know a lot of people are very excited to summon her. A lot of people are very excited to look out after her just because it's been so long ever since her last banner, and a lot has changed in Genshin Impact regarding enemies, characters, teams, and all that type of stuff when it comes to how long she's been gone in Genshin Impact. So today we're going to be talking about her kit, her artifacts, her weapons, all the stuff that you possibly need to know about Eula and how she fares in this current state of the game. So let's go ahead and start talking about Eula in her talents, because of course you want to know what she does. Now, when it comes to leveling out these talents, you're pretty much going to want to level up all of them with the priority on her ultimate, but basically all of them, because her normal attacks are going to play into her ultimate, her skill does a really good amount of damage, and her ultimate is her main source of damage. Now, going about the normal attack, you're going to be using this a lot during her ultimate, so this is something that's going to help you out if you level it up, because you are going to be doing more damage as you're stacking up your ultimate, which we're going to be talking about in a quick second. For her skill, there's this press and a hold version of it. Now, for the press version of it, you're going to just be doing a regular swipe, which is going to help you get a Grim Heart stack. Now, these Grim Heart stacks give you resistance to interruption and defense, which is really nice. And also, once you do get 2 stacks of Grim Heart, which is going to come from her passive, you are going to be able to get a mini explosion of physical damage, which does a good amount of damage if you have 2 Grim Heart stacks. So if you consume both of them and you hold down your skill, you're going to get a good amount of damage from that. And this can play into a combo that you can do from your ultimate. Now, for her ultimate, she's going to be doing the ice swipe again, and you're also going to be getting this small sword on your back. Now, this small sword is going to grow in size every time you hit a normal attack on an enemy. This is why I'm saying you should level up your normal attack. Now, the really cool thing you can do with your ultimate while you're doing normal attacks is that you can actually cancel it into a skill. That way you're able to use the passive of getting the Grim Heart stack from your ultimate. So you're going to do one skill before your ultimate, use the ultimate, use the skill, and you're going to get your explosion. Then you just go on, keep on normal attacking and stack up your ultimate. That way you get a massive explosion of physical damage in a certain amount of range. Eula does really good in single target situations. Although she can hit multiple enemies with their explosions of physical damage, you really want to just limit it to only one character. That way you don't have to worry about characters running out of range or having to apply your buffs in one area and then them running away to another. So this is why Eula, although it's kind of hard to say because her teams don't really allow you to run CC units that are going to help you group up stuff, because a lot of her units are going to help her with her shielding. That way she's not getting thrown around while she's using her ult, and also buffing up her attack so she's able to do more damage. So there's not a lot of CC. That's why you really want to only use her in single target situations rather than multiple target situations, but you know, use her as you will. Now, talking about Eula's ultimate, there aren't really a lot of crazy free-to-play, I guess you could say, claymores that you can use, just because she really only wants attack, and if you can't afford attack, then you can go for energy recharge, I guess you could say. For the most part, she is going to want these really good 5-star swords, like Ito's sword, which is going to give a crazy amount of crit damage, and also help her with her defense from her Grim Heart stacks to give her more normal attack damage. So this is really nice. Serpent Spine works really well as well if you have the Battle Pass weapon, because it will give her crit rate and it will give her attack if she's not getting hit, which you are going to be running a shielder, so this is really good for her passive. Other than that, stuff like Wolf's Gravestone, Prototype Archaic, Black Cliff Slasher, if you're able to get any of these, then go ahead and use it. But for the most part, if you can't run any of them, or you really don't want to use a Prototype Archaic, then run something with energy recharge. That way you're able to get her ultimate quick, which is the main source of her damage. Now, talking about Eula's artifacts, you are going to want to run Pale Flame. This is her best in slot set. You're going to want to get that physical damage increase of your damage for the 2-piece set. And for the 4-piece set, when you hit an elemental skill and it hits an opponent, increase your attack. This effect can stack up to 2 times. And once you get 2 stacks, the 2-set effect is increased to 100%. So this overall plays into her kit very well, because you are going to be using your skill a lot. You are going to be using that ultimate and get that 100% physical damage increase, which is going to help her damage immensely. Now, again, like I said at the beginning, you are going to be wanting to run Eula on mainly a fat ton of attack and a fat ton of things that give you a lot of damage for Eula. Now, for Eula, when it comes to her substats, when it comes to her main stats, I can just say this right now, for her substats, you're going to really want crit damage and also energy recharge. Again, energy recharge is going to help her get her ultimate more, which is going to help her do more damage because this is the main source of her damage. Now for her crit damage substat, this is why you really want it, because Eula is a nuker. She's supposed to do as much possible damage as she possibly can, and there's going to be units to help you out with your crit rate, and also there is ice resonance or cryo resonance, which is going to help you get crit rate as well. While you do want a little bit of crit rate, you are going to mainly want crit damage. That way you're able to do as much damage as you possibly can for Eula. Now for her main stats, you are going to want attack percent on the sands, physical damage bonus on the goblet, and preferably crit damage on circlet, but if you need the crit rate circlet, you can go ahead for that as well. Mainly just regular DPS substats, but really prioritizing crit damage because you really want that ult to do a lot. Now talking about her and her team, this is where it gets a little bit tricky because there's a couple of things you can do with her and her team. For the most part, Eula really wants a team that's going to help her get her ultimate quick, get her attack up a little bit more, and also give her a shield so that she's not able to, I guess you say, get thrown around during her ultimate. The team that I'm going to show you is Eula, Raiden, Bennett, and Zhongli. This is possibly the very best team that you could possibly run for Eula alongside her other team, which is Eula, Raiden, Rosaria, and Zhongli. The reason why these characters are so good, if you have Bennett at pre C6, you are able to get your attack bonus from Bennett's buff and not have to worry about the pyro resonance coming onto you if you have C6 Bennett. So this is really good if you really want the healing from Bennett, the attack buff from Bennett, the, I guess you say, the physical res from Zhongli, the Raiden Shogun giving you your ultimate. She's a core component of Eula's teams, but if you don't have it, Kuki Shinobu works as well because you do want that super conduct. That way you're able to get physical res shred on enemies if you do super conduct with ice and electro. So you really want to have an electro unit with Eula, you want to have a shielder with Eula, and you want to have an attack buffer or a physical res shred with Eula. The reason why this team works so well is because Raiden Shogun gives you your ultimate really quickly, Bennett's going to give you an attack buff and also heal, Zhongli is going to be giving you physical res shred, which is really nice, and also an impenetrable shield. Now you can run Rosaria instead of Bennett. That way you're able to do physical resistance shred as well on her E6, and also you get some crit rate bonus on her skill, I think that it is, and give it to Eula, which is going to help her get her nuke off more with her crit damage and not have it become a dud and do no damage. So these are the teams that you could possibly run with Eula to help her do the most amount of damage. Now I know some people use Mika, some people use Yunjin to help her stack more, to help her get some healing as well. I haven't tested them out personally. I just think the two teams I've listed are already good enough. Now when it comes to Eula's Constellations, they do help her out a crazy amount. So for her C1 is going to be every time Ice type Vortex Grimheart stack are consumed, Eula's physical damage is increased by 30% for 6 seconds. So whenever you use your skill, you're going to be getting a physical damage bonus, which is going to help you a lot when it comes to your damage. Now for C2 is going to be decrease the cooldown of Ice type Vortex's holding mode, rendering it identical to press cooldown. Now this is going to help you get more damage in the long run because you are going to be able to do more particles most likely from this. I'm not 100% sure. And you also are going to be able to get that physical res shred from it as well if you consume the Grimheart stack. So this is going to help you with energy regeneration for a little bit, if I'm not wrong, because they should give more particles if you hold it down. But overall, this is a nice constellation. I think C1 is still really great if you're going to be hunting for them. You should probably stop at C1. For C4 is going to be Lightfall Swords deal 25% increased damage against opponents with less than 50% HP. Now I don't really like conditional, I guess you could say, constellations or anything in these type of games, but having 25% increased damage is going to be helping out the physical explosion from your skill and from your ultimate, which is going to deal a massive amount of damage with as much attack and crit rate you're going to be having on Eula. Now for C6, this is where it gets absolutely absurd. When it comes to the Lightfall Swords that you're going to be getting from your ult, they start with 5 stacks of energy already. So this is 5 normal attacks that you don't need. Normal attacks, elemental skills, and elemental bursts have a 50% chance to grant Lightfall Sword an additional stack of energy. So you're basically getting 2 times the stacks most likely from these hits, and you're going to be hitting her max stacks, which is going to get you absurd amounts of numbers, especially up into the millions, 900k, these type of numbers that are going to one-shot anything. So yeah, Constellations on Eula are very strong. They help her a lot with their physical damage. But going on to talking about, is Eula worth it in version 3.8? Now, I don't want to tell anyone not to summon for a character that they really want. I know a lot of people are really excited and looking forward to getting Eula because she's been gone for so long. And this is a really well-loved character in Genshin Impact. But at the state of the game as we know right now, of course, this can change, of course, with whatever enemies come out in Fontaine, which is coming very soon, and whatever meta changes we might see or whatever characters we might see in the future that might support physical. right now, and I'm talking about right now, as we know, there is not a lot of support besides Mika, who came out, who is not as great as other characters like Bennett and Rosaria that are helping her out the most with her physical res shred and attack buffing, all that type of stuff. And especially with a lot of enemies, especially in the Spiral Abyss, that are holding these elemental damage shields, you're not able to bust them as easily with Eula. She doesn't have a lot of cryo application, only from the first hit of her skill and her first hit of her ultimate. Everything else is physical. Now, she is able to break shields a little bit faster than most, but that's only because claymores as a whole just do a tiny bit more damage to shields when you hit them with a claymore attack. Now, overall, physical damage just isn't that strong in the game at the current moment. There's a lot of things like Dendro having the Hyper Bloom, having Spread, having all these type of things that are going to be absolutely insane for clearing out a bunch of different enemies at the same time, clearing out single target enemies at the same time. There's a lot of things like Melt, there's things like Vaporize. All these different reactions are doing so much damage, and you're also able to have characters like Kazuha, like Sucrose, boost those elemental reactions even more, while Eula, she's not able to use a lot of these CCs. She's not able to use Venti, she's not able to use Kazuha, she's not able to use all these other characters that are going to be grouping up those AoE situations where are very plentiful in any aspect of the game, whether it be Overworld, whether it be Spiral Abyss, whether it be all of these other stages in the game that are going to have multiple enemies, which that's usually the case unless you're fighting a boss. Not having the ability to use CC and not having the ability to boost your damage that way as well with having Kazuha, it's just really hard to summon for Eula and have her as a meta pick because she's been so out of date for a very long time. Now, she's still a fun unit. She's still able to one-shot bosses. She's still able to do a massive amount of damage no matter what when it comes to dealing damage to enemies that don't have shields. But at the current moment of the game, especially with the newer enemies in the game and especially with the stages in Spiral Abyss, there's just been so many elemental shields. Eula really wants just to have a, I guess you could say, enemy who has no shields, who doesn't move around a lot in a single target situation. There's just a lot of conditions that Eula really needs to be able to make her really well and really good. They're going to put her in her best situation, her best conditions. It's hard for me to recommend Eula. She is a fun character. She can do a lot of damage, but currently, as of 3.8, without knowing what is coming in Fontaine, I can't 100% recommend her in version 3.8. Now, of course, if you still want Eula for the looks, if you still want Eula because she looks fun, go ahead. She is fun. She's just not as crazy when it comes to dealing with the current enemies that are in the game, and especially the Spiral Abyss stages that are in the game as well. She requires a lot of investment, especially from her artifacts and from her weapon and from the teammates that she has, to be able to put her at the best situation. But if you do have all of those things, if you've been preparing for Eula for this very long time, then it might be, I guess you could say, worth it. But other than that, I can't really suggest summoning for her at the current moment. Maybe she'll be better in the future, but at the current moment, she's just not comparable to a lot of the better DPS in the game, like Alhaitham, like Hu Tao, Ayaka, all these other crazy characters that can use elemental reactions and CC from Anemo characters. But other than that, thank you guys so much for watching all the way to the end of the video. Let me know if you're still going to be summoning for Eula, if you're not going to be summoning for Eula. I wanted to put this video out just to let people know how she is in the current game if you've been gone for a long while. But hopefully she gets some type of buff. Hopefully physical characters as a whole get a buff, because I feel like this damage type has been neglected for a very long time, and I would just really like to use my Eula because I haven't used her in forever. But other than that, thank you guys so much for watching all the way to the end of the video. See you on the next one, and peace.